Been a little while since we talked about fasting. Where do you guys stand?
Still kind of focused on the 2 big meals a day. I call it a split fast because I eat, then I fast, then I eat, then I fast. And even though I'm eating...
That's not fasting, bro.
No, it's not fasting.
So it's like I'm not fasting every single day, but it's naturally turned into something where it's like there's a few days of fasting, there's a few days of eating through the day, a few more days of fasting.
It wouldn't be so attached to like how many hours you do it for. I personally haven't noticed or seen any more profound results for myself other than just feeling like, just kind of feeling tired and hungry. It's supposed to be indestructible.
What if it gets hit by another Tesla truck?
Yeah, right. Then it's going to be done deal.
It looks so cool, dude.
It's so funny how...
Pay with Apple Pay.
That's great. It's so funny how against people are of like the autonomous driving. Like it works so good. It's amazing. I mean, to have it just driving completely by itself is a little scary. It's understandable, but it's super convenient too to have that thing driving at least partially for you. And usually the way I use my Tesla is just it like drives with me. So it's just like extra eyes on the road. It's, you know, like when you go to switch lanes, humans have like blind spots, but the car doesn't have a blind spot. And if it does, it's going to tell you about it. It's going to tell you that that certain thing doesn't work. It's like malfunctioning or whatever. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, people always point to, because like I know when I was talking about getting one, my brother-in-law showed me a video of one. It might have been like San Francisco, like in that one tunnel. Where the Tesla just comes to a complete stop in the middle of that tunnel and creates like a pretty bad accident. And I'm like, I know it's not fair to say like, well, how many more accidents do regular ass cars get into, you know, because bad drivers and stuff, which I understand there's way more of those on the road. I'm like, but like it's tough to single out like a couple of incidents when I'm pretty sure those cars can drive better than most. Well, especially in Sacramento, there's some pretty shitty drivers out here.
Dude, I started driving at like your pace.
Yeah.
Because
now you understand.
No, dude. Whenever I look at people's windows, and I started slowing down my speed just because recently there have just been two incidents where somebody was trying to merge. I'm just like, what the fuck? And they keep merging even though I'm right next to them. You know what I mean? And it's like, y'all almost fucked me up. So now I'm just driving really slow. And people are just on their phones. People really just be like on the freeway, just like, yo, what the fuck? I can't wait for every vehicle to be autonomous, man.
The whole windshield will just be a big screen, just pulling up all your social media.
Solves a lot of problems for you. You can be on your phone and you can be driving at the same time. It's the Tesla is just, it's incredible. And it's amazing because I know that the company's been around for a while, but the cars are just going to get so much better.
Yeah.
Like I think that my children's children might not even really need to take like a driver's test.
It's going to be like the Jetsons.
They might not need to really know how to drive hardly. That's cool.
Yeah.
We don't need to know how to we don't need to know much about directions.
Yeah.
You know, we got the maps will take us there.
When was the last time y'all opened up a dictionary?
Yeah, forever.
Do you remember that shit? Like you'd have to like look up a word, what it means, and you'd crack open the dictionary, or even looking at an encyclopedia.
Yeah, that I mean,
I do look up meanings of words all the time, but not through a dictionary.
No,
through Google.
Yeah,
and the new search engine is GPT.
Right.
Let me give you all a hack. If you guys want to look some stuff up or do some deep research, learn how to use GPT because that thing, it's crazy.
Well, like what prompt, like specifically, like
prompt whatever the fuck you want.
I know, but like if
you're looking for a study that'll talk about the benefits of fasting that was done within the past 10 years and you want PubMed resources, it will list all that shit out for you. If you want 5, 10, 15, you can prompt it to do like get whatever you want. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's literally the best search engine for research on almost anything you want.
It can find the information and write your homework out for you.
It can eliminate a lot of like programming for like lifting and stuff. I think it can give you like a lot. There's a lot of like kind of basic surface area information that it could give you. I mean, if you wanted to like look up something on hypertrophy and just learn just a little bit, just enough to get started. Like, what do I need? I would like to start to build muscle. I'm new. You start to kind of, share all this stuff as you're typing it in or whatever, and it's going to kind of guide you in a pretty good direction, probably.
There were people that were like, I think there was already a bunch of videos on YouTube on like GPT lifting programs where people like prompted ChatGPT for a program and like went through it and gave their whatever results. I haven't seen what that's done, but it's interesting.
Going to get somebody yoked out of their mind.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of fasting, it's been a little while since we've talked about fasting. Where do you guys stand when it comes to fasting? Do you guys still utilize some forms of fasting, or what do you do, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm still kind of focused on the 2 big meals a day. Although today I didn't have the first big meal. And then so before this podcast, I kind of held it up and snuck in a meal real quick.
Some monster mash.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's, again, like I'm leaning more towards the unlean stuff. So like the fattier stuff, and that ground beef, I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I know the whole thing has like 800 calories or something crazy like that. So the fat content is very high, and that keeps me very full.
You're a lean guy. You look great.
I
So
appreciate
I don't
that.
think
Thank you.
I don't think you got to worry too much about a little extra calories.
Yeah,
Right?
thank you.
You ain't got nothing to worry about.
I think you should pull up that picture again. Just like, because I think you're wearing a sweatshirt right now.
Yeah,
Wearing a sweatshirt right now.
I'm
so
hiding.
people forget, like, you have a 6-pack.
That's what people do, right? When they start to get in shape, they just cover everything up. Or is that just bodybuilders?
That's bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Bodybuilders, when they get to like obscene sizes and like obscene low body fat percentage. Otherwise, they'll have a tank top on when they're in the intermediate, but when they're all leaned out, yeah, you look awesome right there.
Thank you.
You guys remember when people used to wear stringers?
Oh,
Or
yeah.
people maybe still do, but I mean, I feel like stringers are kind of dead at this
Yeah.
point.
They need to come back. They're great. They're so ridiculous.
I remember when I used to, I used to get stringers.
You know what I don't understand is I don't understand like the self-made tank top that a lot of fat guys wear.
What?
They cut the sleeves off, like not just cutting this. Like they don't only cut the sleeve off. They cut the sleeve off way down super low, and then it's like you're getting some side boob in there and stuff, and it's just
Side boob and side gut.
it's not a it's not a good look.
I did that as a teenager when I didn't have the money to buy a tank top.
It's like make your own tank top.
Yeah, man.
When you said self-made, I was like, is that like I know there was like a gym called that back in the day. I'm like, where's he going? But all right.
I do think The Rock maybe makes some of those self-made tank tops. He cuts them, but he's in amazing shape. So when you're in great shape, it looks
Doesn't
So
matter.
you're saying that if somebody's bigger, they shouldn't be wearing a tank top?
right.
Wow. Wow. You're not inclusive at all.
If somebody's
dog.
too big and their skin's kind of creamy colored and stuff, like not a great idea. It just doesn't look good. Some real pale ass skin and some skin tags to go along with it. It's just not a good day. And then you see the deodorant kind of on their shirt too, sort of thing. You're just like, oh my God. You're like, wow, I don't understand how this happened, but it did.
There's a few people that are listening right now that are just like, fuck you. They just left because you described them to a T.
Maybe.
Damn.
Maybe so.
Did somebody hurt you today, dog? 'Cause
I've been, yeah.
some fighting words, man.
Came out hot.
I've been hurt before. Anyway, so you mainly have 2 meals a day. So I guess there's some intermittently times of not eating, right?
Yeah, I wonder what that would be, right? From like dinner and I'll say like last snack or whatever it may be to like breakfast to dinner. Like if there's like a certain correlation between like, I don't know, 10 hours in between each time I eat or something. Like I should probably start paying attention to that.
It'd be the Zaragoza method.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, within a certain amount of days, if you eat every 10 hours, it equals 24 hours for some reason. But so yeah, I call it a split fast because I eat, then I fast, then I eat, then I fast. And even though I'm eating,
That's not fasting, bro.
No, it's not fasting. And in there, I'll have some electrolytes and some coffee with protein and all that sort of stuff. But it's been working really well. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we were just talking on the previous episode about keeping my energy level higher. But other than, a couple of things coming up here and there where I'm like, I think I should have more energy. My workouts are going really well, doing pretty good on the mats in jiu-jitsu. Still, as everything, like I'm going to make tweaks and try to get better.
How about for you?
Yeah, nothing's changed in the past few years. You know, I think some days, if I feel like I need to, I'll eat in the morning. Most days, like today, I didn't feel like I was hungry. Didn't feel fatigued, or certain days you just wake up and you feel really hungry. You know, okay, I need to eat this morning. That's not every day. That's not most days. So.
Protein shake or anything like that, or
no, not when I.
Just a coffee or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But some days I will have a protein shake if I'm like, okay, I want something small. I'll have a protein shake. It's you know, I think if you do pick up the habit, it's something that can just help you not be as food focused. That's what we've noticed through the years.
I think it's important to note that if you had negative outcomes, like if all of a sudden you started to not feel good, or your body weight changed, or you thought your body composition was changing, you would probably make adjustments, right?
100%.
Probably just start to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But the thing is, and I would assume the same with you, I don't struggle eating in a 5-hour window or a 7-hour. I don't struggle eating the amount of food I need to eat to be able to perform. I kind of love
doing that.
Yeah. I like it too.
I like when my day is over and all that is left to do is eat.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And also, if I'm being real, like, you know, when I do eat breakfast or when I do eat earlier in the day, I mean, it's not like I feel sluggish, but I like feeling a little bit lighter in the morning.
Right.
So
I think all three of us like to be active in the morning. And so, Andrew, before you go to jiu-jitsu, do you eat anything usually?
No. If I'm really like feeling not sluggish, but like just feeling a little, I'll say hollow, because that's what it feels like sometimes. I'll do a pretty good shot of honey. And then, you know, then I take that and some electrolytes and that's it. And then go do jiu-jitsu and then come home, get cleaned up, and then have my first meal.
Yeah, I'm probably like almost like in the middle of you guys in a way, because I will have protein shakes in the morning. Oh, that was a close shot.
I called Purdy on it, so that's probably why I missed.
You cursed it.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, I'll have some protein shakes or something like that in the morning. Like today I had 2 of them because I had a coffee and a protein, and then now we're here and it's like almost 3 o'clock. So I was like, I'll have another one because I'm going to probably run after this. And so not a lot of fat or carbohydrates. Haven't really specifically eaten any of that, just whatever would be like in the shake. Other days I'll do what you're doing, where I'll just totally fast. And I've always liked intermittent fasting ever since I introduced it a few years ago into my own diet. I really have liked it. And one of the things I really like about it is it helps for me to control my appetite.
Yeah.
Like I don't have great appetite control, or at least I didn't used to. And this has helped a lot. This has helped with all kinds of stuff. You know, sometimes even just going to a restaurant and you're like waiting for the food to come, and, you know, they're putting bread on the table and all those other things that like used to make me antsy, or I used to want to eat the bread, or I used to have to order like a salad, or I needed something to be fidgeting on. Once I started to play around with some fasting, and once I got used to it, it was a lot easier to have the proper food at the proper time. And it wasn't hard to like wait for it. And much like yourself and Nsima, and like you too, Andrew, when I get home and it is time to eat, it's pretty much just like protein. It's like protein and fat. There might be some rice in there. There might be a potato. It just kind of depends on the day. Like more recently, I cut way back on fruit, not for any other reason than the fruits, like they're just not as good this time of year. And then also I don't really feel like I have the taste buds for them. So I haven't been eating as much fruit. And if I do eat like a carb from like rice or potato, I don't know, I might have it like every other day or something like that. So I don't really feel like I'm like dying for it or anything like that.
Do you want to pull up that video by Rico?
Yeah. Yeah, just real quick, I did want to ask you guys, like, have you ever, like, I'll say within the past year, thought about like kind of removing fasting for a little bit just to see how you would maybe perform or how you would feel? Because I've been having those thoughts too, just like, well, shoot, what would happen if I, you know, just have a meal before I come home, or whatever it may be. I'm just curious if you guys have kind of played with that idea in your head.
For me, that naturally happens from time to time. When like, because like there will be segments where I'm doing a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of lifting, and I'm getting leaner. And then I'm just like, okay, let's eat multiple days for a bit. But then at a certain point, I'm just like, I'm kind of force feeding. Like I'm making myself eat when I'm not really hungry. And then I just naturally go back to it. For me, it's like 2 or 3 days I'm not eating in the morning, and I'm not eating until I get home. And then maybe there's a day where I'll eat in the afternoon when I'm here, and I'll eat when I'm home. And then there's a day where I'll eat in the morning, come here, eat in the afternoon or evening, right? So it's like I'm not fasting every single day, but it's naturally turned into something where it's like there's a few days of fasting, there's a few days of eating through the day, a few more days of fasting, right? It's not a 7 days a week I must be fasting all day long thing. And I think that's where the balance can lie for a lot of people, because a lot of times when you start fasting, you're so rigid with it. You have to hit your 16 hours or your 20 hours that when you get those signals of let me eat, you don't. And then it turns into it can become something that's not helping you.
I think there's some critical things to think about with fasting is if you're trying to utilize it to lose weight, you have to kind of pretend that it never happened. So when it's time to eat, it's not like game time, like, put on the war paint and like get ready to eat like an absolute animal. You want to kind of pretend that it never happened. So that way you are in a somewhat of a caloric deficit. The other thing I think to keep in mind with fasting is I agree with Nsima. It wouldn't be so attached to like how many hours you do it for. Maybe occasionally just as a challenge, just to see how you do with it. Maybe you go 16, 18, 20 hours, like maybe just play around with some of that here and there. But I personally haven't noticed or seen any more profound results for myself by having that go longer and by doing that multiple days, other than just feeling tired and hungry. So, but you might want to experiment with it for yourself and kind of see how you feel with it. I think also we're in a time where people overeat so much that any form of like not eating 3 times a day is now considered a form of fasting. And it's part of the reason why I don't beat the drum anymore. It's part of the reason why I don't talk about it as much, is because I've been eating this way in a similar fashion for like 10 years. And some people would say, oh, well, you said you have a morning shake, so that's not fasting. So that's part of the reason why I don't really mention it anymore. It's like, well, to me, I mainly just had protein. It's not a huge deal. I'm just trying to make sure I get my protein requirement for the day.
Yeah.
But there are some people too that need to pay attention to whether they can hit the amount of food that they need for the day. And if you can't, then you want to be really careful with having that feeding window be too short.
One thing though, it's like one thing I think I need to do, I will be doing, is I'm going to try to have a protein shake in the morning like you do. Because I have that green juice or whatever with some athletic greens in the morning. And that has maybe like 40, 50 calories. And then I don't look at it as food, but it's just a bunch of fucking greens, right? But a protein shake is something that I should probably just do in the morning, rather even on the days that I feel like I'm not going to eat.
I just kind of like it. It's like satiating and satisfying kind of at the same time. I mix my steak shake with iced coffee basically, and I have that every morning.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I think I'm going to start doing some of that more.
Pat Project family, we love beef on this podcast. We talk about it a lot. All right. We love our meat. But sometimes eating the same meat all the time can get a little bit boring. That's why we partner with Good Life Proteins, which also has certified Piedmontese on their website. But sometimes you might just want to eat some chicken or fish or duck. Duck. Who eats duck? But you can eat duck. That's why if you go to goodlifeproteins.com, you can select their Build-A-Box options and input all the proteins you want. Then you'll select subscribe and save to save money on all of your meat. If you enter code PowerProject at checkout, you can save up to 25% on your subscription. That means you're going to be saving 25% on all of that different meat that's going to be heading to your door. Once again, head to goodlifeproteins.com. You can enter code PowerProject and save up to 25%. Links are in the description box below, as well as the podcast show notes.
Cool. Let's check out this video from my boy Rico. Crushing it right now.
I started intermittent fasting because I started following the Hodge twins. When they did intermittent fasting, I'm like, this is the way. I'm like, this is how I'm going to lose fat. I would not eat with my family because I'm like, it's not in my fucking eating window. I would get pissed. Then I realized there's a really big fucking problem, man. When I was a freshman in college, it was like our school store where we would buy food. I would buy brownies, ice cream, all these other like sweets. I would go back home. I was in my apartment in Chicago. I would put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and then I would sit next to the tub and I would eat it for the taste and I'd spit it out. And I would spend like 30, 40 minutes just sitting there just because I'm like, I can't eat this because it's gonna fucking make me fat. And I would just eat a brownie, chew it, and then I'd spit it out in the tub. And I'd keep the water running so that way I didn't have to see the evidence. It would just get washed away. But I'm like, at least I got the fucking taste, but I didn't get the calories. I hid this from people so well. This was just something that I'm like, I could do in private. I could do it on my own. It was like a weird guilty pleasure. I don't intermittent fast anymore, but my relationship with food it's tough. That intermittent fasting is just always ingrained in me. It's one of those things that we always battle in our head of like, we could always revert back to. I could just go back to this because it worked. Yeah, but who were you then? I didn't like myself then.
Yeah, I wonder like how he was, what was his interpretation of intermittent fasting. I think some people have like a 16-8 model in their head where they do it 7 days a week. As you were mentioning, Nsima, I go through like seasons. I go through different times where I do different things. Could be a couple weeks in a row where I'm eating breakfast every day. It could be for a little while. Even something like with traveling, like I like having breakfast at a hotel. Like if I stay at a decent hotel and they have like a good place that cooks up some good food.
Yeah.
Man, like one of my favorite things in the world to eat is an omelet. And I like making an omelet for myself, but I like it even better when someone else makes it for me.
Oh yeah.
Did you get hungry, Andrew?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love
bacon,
a good omelet. So I'm not going to like
onions.
I'm not going to deprive myself. I think it is helpful to learn some deprivation, and it's important to learn some depriving here and there. It's a good skill, but also I think you got to know when to just do stuff that you like and just to do stuff that you enjoy.
The thing is too, is like when I don't know exactly what Rico was doing, but first off, fasting can affect some people negatively, especially when there's bad food habits in line. Because he was mentioning that, he'd fast and then he would get junk food. I guess I'm going to call it junk food, and eat some of that, and obviously, purge it. But if you're still going towards junk food in the times that is your eating window, or that's like a lot of the food that you're trying to eat, that's not, first off, it's not satiating. It's going to be something that you're going to end up binging on a lot, since especially like when you fast, you're going to be hungry, then you binge on junk food or you eat junk food. It's not an excuse to, okay, since I didn't eat all day, let me go and eat shit, right? You still need to eat foods that's satiating, real food, protein, eggs, all these foods that we talk about all the time, fruits. Those are the foods that you want to eat because they're actually going to send you the signals of feeling full. They're going to be nutrient dense. They're going to be good for you. But it doesn't mean like now you can eat shit, which back when he was probably doing fasting, because he was talking about the Hodge twins, that's also when If It Fits Your Macros was extremely popular.
Yeah.
It's still popular, but it was extremely popular. I was part of that too, where it's just like, what can I fit into my diet today? I can do a third of a pint of Ben and Jerry's and this and this and this. But the thing is those foods won't help you. And those are going to be foods that are going to make it difficult for you to stick to any type of fat loss. Maybe you'll be able to bulk pretty effectively. Well, you'll gain a lot of fat. But like if you're trying to stick to fat loss for a long period of time, those foods are going to make your life more difficult.
Yeah, I think in Rico's case, maybe he took the fasting so seriously that there was kind of a rebound effect, or he felt too restricted and felt like he needed to do something else. I think Ted Naiman, who studied a lot with protein leveraging, he talks a lot about how it's not a great idea or great decision to try to lose the weight that you gained from the foods that you gained the weight with.
Yeah.
Those foods probably need to be removed from your diet for a while. They probably need to be, if you're someone that's very overweight, you're 100 pounds overweight, it's probably something that you need to get rid of for a period of time. And then you might be able to reintroduce it with some sort of rationale, or you have a once a week where you have a cheat or something like that. But at first, those foods you're going to always associate with a binge. Every time you eat pizza, you eat 7 slices. Every time and then not only do you eat the 7 slices, but then you eat the stuff that's in the pantry. And so if you were to ask a coach, if you were, texting your coach buddy who's helping you, and you said, hey, I was thinking about, having some pizza tonight. The coach might think, well, that's not a huge deal. You had some pizza. You've been eating pretty good for like 2 weeks straight. But maybe they're not recognizing that for you, that is a green light to binge, even though that wasn't the intention. You had your pizza, and now it kind of sent you off into, eating a lot of other foods. And also on that point of him like purging and getting rid of the food in the bathtub, I don't even know if you can really do that. Like, I think that, once you put some of those foods in your mouth, I think it's almost like you ate it anyway, so you're already screwed at that point.
What do you mean? I'm curious.
Well, you can't get the taste from nothing.
Yeah, you're consuming some of the calories. Maybe you're not consuming all. Maybe you're not consuming all of it, but.
And then your body, as you start salivating, and like your body starts getting prepared for the food to come down to start digesting it. So that all starts, right? So he's probably somehow
not getting all the calories, but you're doing a lot of negative damage to yourself on more levels than.
Well, who wants to test it then? Who's going to give it a shot?
That'd be so hard to do.
Yeah, no, I'm John.
I mean, it is. And we've got lots of Halloween candy around.
Imagine just taking 11 one little bite of it. It would be hard.
Oh, yeah. 11 bars worth of candy.
But another thing is, too, it's like if you're trying to gain muscle, fasting isn't like a bad thing to do, but if you find it hard to eat a good amount of food in a, 8-hour window or something, maybe you just don't need to fast. It's a different situation for people who are trying to drop body fat, and someone who's trying to gain muscle and gain weight and has a problem eating enough food. If you have a problem eating enough food and then you're restricting the time you're eating even more, it's going to make it more difficult to get that amount of food in, because you do need, if you're someone who, whether you're someone who's just trying to gain muscle, or if you're a grappler who's trying to gain muscle and you're expending so many calories, you need to figure out a way to get in the food you need, right? So doing a long fast during the day might not be the best for you.
If you're an active person and you're, 200 plus pounds, and you're mainly eating, at between like 6 p.m. and like 9 p.m. or something like that, that might be kind of hard to do. For you to try to eat 200 grams of protein, it's like that might be pretty tough. For most people, I think it would be pretty hard. So you might have to spread out the food in a different way. But I think that, again, having periods of time where you're just not eating, to me, that helps you get a lot of the benefits of fasting without us talking about necessarily even intermittent fasting. Just literally ending your food at a certain time every night, a similar time every night. Let's say it's 8 p.m. You go to bed at 10 or something like that. There's 2 hours already. If you slept for 8 hours, that's 10 hours of not eating. And then if you waited 2 hours, you're already at 12 hours of not eating. And I think that that's probably really important for a lot of people. I also think that what Andrew does, I think makes a lot of sense, where you kind of eat like twice a day, 2/3 times a day. I think really makes a lot of sense, because nearly every single person is home twice every day. And so that's where you get your good meals in. People are always concerned about meal prep, and I need to bring this with me and that with me. Could really solve a lot of problems if you kept a protein shake with you as much as you could for times where you're out of the house. And if in between that, you had a good meal at home for breakfast and a good meal when you got home for dinner.
Yeah. And what I believe that, like, either the way I'm eating or just intermittent fasting in general, it can really clean up someone's palate and get them to eat cleaner foods. Just thinking back when I didn't care about anything diet nutrition wise, I was always eating like Doritos or like just gas station foods, like, and then when it would come time to eat dinner, I like wouldn't care unless it was something super palatable like pizza or, whatever, name your, yummiest foods. Like that's the only thing I could eat, because everything else, like, I'm not going to eat chicken. Like,
people will say, they'll literally say they don't feel like eating that.
Yeah. And then when you introduce a little bit of fasting, you get this thing called like actual hunger. And then all of a sudden, wow, it actually is pretty easy to eat, whatever the chicken and rice or whatever. I'm not saying that everyone should eat that, but if you're really hungry, you're more inclined to eat that as opposed to when you're not hungry because you just got done eating a fucking bag of Doritos that taste amazing. And now the boiled chicken, tastes like shit.
I can't wait to go to Costco today. 2 Meals a Day, Mark Sisson. It's probably a good book for some of you guys who want some detailed stuff on that type of shit. But Andrew, you're totally right about it, like cleaning up your palate. Because again, I remember before I started fasting, which I think I started in like maybe 2016. 2016 is when I started doing it. Before that, I was still trying to fit a lot of stuff into my diet. And for me, it was hard to maintain a lean physique if I wasn't dieting, or at least lean for me personally. But by building the habit of fasting, over time, I started to crave real food all the time rather than craving a lot of processed food that I typically always try to fit into my diet. And then it just became a much easier, like maintaining leanness isn't a difficult thing now. Yeah, I do have certain habits in my life that yield to expenditure, like jujitsu, and I do enjoy lifting. But even so, I enjoy eating. I like to eat food. But at this point, I really like to eat real food almost all the time, other than my Halloween, fuckery that happened, right? Where I fucked up my environment by buying some chocolate, and I was like, fuck it, went a little ham. But that's why I don't keep it in the house. That's why you can set up your environment, So, yeah.
Yeah, fasting definitely, there's something that I would consider to be like fake hunger. When you're hungry for like chips, you're hungry for just sort of junk food. I mean, I think everyone's kind of hungry for that almost all the time. Unless you're like completely stuffed, you kind of always have room for a donut, a cookie, ice cream, a slice of pizza. There's kind of always room for those types of things. And when you get yourself on track,
I'm about to say on trend.
When you get yourself on track and you continually eat the right foods, the whole process gets to be easier and easier and easier rather than harder and harder. So I think once you kind of get yourself into that cycle, like for myself, every morning I take out a steak or ground beef out of my freezer. I put it on the counter. It thaws out. When I get home from here, all I got to do is cook it up, and it's ready to go. And it's not hard for me to stay in that cycle because that's what I'm used to. That's what and I'm hungry for that every single time. I would say it's really, really rare. Every once in a while, I'll cook something that I made a mistake with, like the combinations of different things I was trying to like put together, and it won't be amazing. But almost every single time, it's fucking awesome. Almost every single time, almost every meal I have. So there's people out there that are like, I don't want to mess around with a diet, because I don't want to. I don't like diet food, and I don't want to do any of that. None of it's going to taste good. But every meal I have tastes awesome.
Yeah. Yep. You don't eat what I eat. That's the thing. Like, again, dieting doesn't have to be it's the choices of the foods you eat. Because like, if you're someone who's choosing to eat a lot of carbohydrates, then you might have to back off of the fat you eat. And that might mean the meats you eat are leaner. And for me personally, that's not fun. I don't like eating super lean shit all the time. But that's why I generally eat lower carb, so I can have fun meats like red meat, chicken thighs, good shit that I enjoy eating.
A brisket.
Right?
Bacon.
I couldn't imagine dieting on low fat. For me, I don't like it. I know you do low fat every now and then, though.
Yeah,
or
I was leaning on that side for sure because you can. It appears that you get so much more volume with those types of things because the fat content's so low, carbs are way higher, and then the way I was making the food, the protein was way high. So I was like, oh, I'm getting in tons of protein, I'm having fun, and the calories are still pretty low. Let's go. But I would have to eat right away. Like it seemed like it like burned everything up very fast, and I had to just continue to keep eating. And then so with the 2 meals, both of my 2 meals are very high in fat, like 8 to 10 eggs, a good amount of fat, and then ribeyes at night.
That's one,
also more fat. So it's kind of incredible.
That's
10 eggs is like 50 grams of fat, probably, right?
Load them up. And then I've been having them with like guac too. Oh my God. Like some avocado. I mean, it's so good.
It seems that higher fat, like again, you should try some of this out for yourself. But like when I started eating higher fat, which is like a very big difference from the bodybuilding style of eating, because generally, you know, bodybuilders keep the fat lower, keep the carbohydrates higher, and always a good amount of protein. That was a difference, but it was more satiating, and I found that I didn't feel the need to eat as frequently. Eat a meal, you are satiated for a good amount of time. Whereas when eating low fat, I felt like I just needed to eat more often. I felt the need and the hunger more often. So it's not something I'm ever going to go back to. Like, fuck that, personally.
Yeah. So we were talking about like cleaning up the palate. What are some other things outside of the weight loss, the palate change that people can kind of maybe focus more on for fasting so it doesn't become a thing where it's like, oh, I don't deserve to eat right now because I didn't fast long enough? I know, Nsima, you talked in the past about like a focus and like mental side of things for fasting.
Yeah. The thing is, I mean, I think probably a lot of people might notice it on the weekend where you might not have as much stuff that you have to do, but you feel like as the day goes on, you're like, oh, I'm hungrier sooner, right? So it's like, what I've found is when you have things that you need to do, when you have tasks you need to get done, when you have a plan of stuff that has to get done, you're not going to be as focused on food. Like I don't really feel hungry when I'm working until I get home. Then I'm like, oh shit, I need to actually eat something, especially after the habit's been built. I won't say that's what it was at the beginning, but after some time, it's just like, okay, I can eat later. You can just kind of push it off. A few times while we were podcasting, my stomach was going, but it's like, it's not, it's not something that like makes me angry as it did in the past. Right. So that's one thing. Get busy.
Yeah. Being busy can help a lot. Even something like a workout can help curb your appetite, a walk, a run. There's just doing something will probably distract you away from your food. I also think that, just trying to get away from so many ingredients all the time. Just try to, salt your food, put different flavoring things on there, throw some heat on there if you want. But I think you need to be a little cautious with sort of how much stuff you put on your food because
telling these people not to season, white man.
No, you can season. No, I season the shit out of stuff. Like I use a lot of salt and spices, and
I said that because y'all don't season your food.
I use a lot of fermented stuff and all kinds of things like that. But I think that sauces and all that kind of stuff. I think it's still you're not training your palate to learn what the fucking food tastes like.
You're right.
So learn what those foods taste like. Something like pickled herring or something like fermented vegetables and stuff like that. I think people think they're gross, but I don't know if they really have kind of tried them. I don't know if anyone's ever even just tried spinach without cooking it. Like just eat some spinach, just try it, just taste it. You might not like it, but at least you can start to learn what it's supposed to taste like. To me, spinach has almost like a almond type of flavor to it somewhere in there. But you can't taste that if it had ranch dressing on it. You're going to just taste the ranch dressing, which is incredible. It tastes amazing. I'm not saying it doesn't taste amazing, but I think it's important to be a little cautious with like how much stuff you're putting on your food and the combinations of things that you're doing. If you're somebody that struggles with your weight, if you're not in that category, and you just like to season your food and throw a lot of stuff on your food, then keep going for it.
TRT, it's a popular topic. A lot of guys are hopping on it. It's something that we've talked about a lot. And you might think you're a candidate, but how would you know if you haven't got your blood work done and you don't know where your markers are? That's why we've partnered with Merrick Health, owned by Derek from More Plates, More Dates. And the cool thing about Merrick is you'll get your blood work done, and you'll also have a patient care coordinator that can help you analyze your blood work, analyze your testosterone, all these other markers to help you actually figure out if you're someone who needs TRT, because there could be things that you could be doing nutritionally, with supplements, or even with your lifestyle that can boost your testosterone to the levels that they should actually be at. Andrew, how can they get their hands on it?
Yes, that's over at merrickhealth.com/Power Project. And at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save 10% off the Power Project panel, the checkup panel, or any individual lab that you select. Again, that's at merrickhealth.com/Power Project. Promo code Power Project at checkout. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
That's true. We have another video.
Oh,
to pull up from Pradeep.
Let's see.
This guy's very interesting.
Where did he go?
We can
Here
get him
it
on the
is.
show soon.
Alrighty, let's see.
Dr. Pradeep.
Let's go.
We are always eating in a fed state. Why are you eating if you just fed? Let me ask you, why are you eating? You just had a meal to eat 2 hours ago. Why you have to eat again?
Why
Are you hungry? You're not hungry? Oh no, but I have to eat. Why? Because two things. One, you're a junkie, you're an addict. Just like cocaine, just like heroin, you're an addict. Because that sugar goes to the same part of the brain as dopamine. So it gives you that reward center. So now you have to have your next high. This is very real, guys. That's why intermittent fasting breaks that habit. How do you make a junkie come off his cocaine? You stick him in a room and don't give him any cocaine. So you got to do the same thing. You got to play around with your physiology. You got to play around with it so you don't become an addict. Otherwise, this is, I got to eat now. You're not hungry, but you still have to eat. You're a junkie.
Damn.
So that's the biggest problem why we eat so frequently.
I think we just
Junkie.
we just exaggerate a lot. You know, instead of saying that instead of being like, oh, I'm hungry.
I'm starving.
Yeah, you say, oh my God, I'm starving. And you're definitely not. And your last meal, like he said, probably wasn't that long ago. I think what's amazing and exceptional about intermittent fasting is how quickly you can get used to doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. So if you've never done it before, I'm not saying like jump all in and do 18 hours right away, but just try like 10 hours, 12 hours, and just kind of mess around with that and do that. Try to do that for a little period of time. But 2 weeks down the road, you'll be fine. You'll find yourself like, I'm supposed to eat now. Like rather than you barely making it and being like, oh my God, it's 2 o'clock. I didn't eat. I know Huberman and some other people have kind of suggested like, hey, maybe you just skip breakfast and maybe you eat at like 2. Those are all simple things to do. And I think that even that in and of itself is not even really fasting. It's just like, imagine trying to explain this to people from a few hundred years ago. This is a diet that we do. It's called intermittent fasting. They'd be like, oh, you just don't get an opportunity to eat until like later in the day? Like that happens to us every day. Or we go a couple days, without food. It's just amazing like where we're at. We have so much convenience of food and we eat so many times a day. We have a luxury of eating 5 times a day, 7 times a day. We have a luxury of DoorDash and all these different things. But really, to be quite honest, we probably can do just fine, probably eating about 1 meal about every other day.
Oh, Mark.
And not just every day.
1 meal every other day?
1 meal every other day.
No, actually, most people could probably do pretty well with that. And a nice substantial meal. But, that's why I think it's just kind of ridiculous when you got a lot of like fitness professionals talking so bad about fasting. Because there's one side where people talk about fasting like it's something, and it is there does seem to be a little bit of a magic to it because it changes your habits. Like that, as Dr. Pradeep was
habits quickly.
Yeah, as Dr. Pradeep was saying, like honestly, before I started fasting, I did feel kind of like a junkie because like I mentioned, I was tracking a lot and I was doing everything I could to fit in those fun foods that I felt the craving for. Because I knew I couldn't just go crazy with these foods every single day. But if I can fit it in, then it's okay. And then I felt like I also needed it. Like if it wasn't part of my diet, then there's no way I can diet because I love these foods so much. But by building that habit, it then became I just got used to not eating those foods. And then obviously setting up my environment, not buying those things, not keeping them in the house so they're not easy to get to all the time. That made it even easier for me to be like, okay, first off, I don't need to eat these foods. Secondly, I have all these better options here. So when I'm actually hungry, let me go towards the eggs, the steak, the rice. Let me go towards these foods that are actually going to serve me because now I'm hungry for these foods. And that was a total shift that made it easy for me not to track anymore. Now I can just eat intuitively and maintain, and have the habit set. So that's where the magic lies. Because I guarantee that a lot of these guys who are talking shit on fasting probably still have to track a lot of their shit. Probably can't do things super intuitively, But it's like, give it a shot.
it feels good and it feels motivating. I don't know exactly how it feels for you guys, but to me, it makes you feel more of like an athlete, like, because you're the only thing you're consuming, like you're either not eating or you're eating shit that's good for you.
Yeah.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like you're treating yourself like an athlete. And then even when you are eating, you're eating like higher quality foods, higher quality meats, higher quality eggs, higher quality stuff that, again, tastes really good. So every time you eat, you're able to not only eat, but you're able to eat quite a bit, feel pretty damn full. Like for myself, when I get home from here, I usually eat and then I wait about an hour or two and then I eat again. And I feel so good. I get to do that every single day. It feels awesome. I do all my work during the day. I kind of like barely make it through the day with kind of a lower calorie profile. If there is calories, it's mainly just protein
Or electrolytes.
or electrolytes, depending on what I'm doing. Even if I'm running, I don't really eat anything. I just same stuff as I already mentioned. And then once that time is up, and it's time for me to go home and enjoy some food, I get an opportunity to eat some food and to really engorge in these healthy foods that I really love.
Well, yeah. Why does it feel so good to just kind of like, you're like, you have the steak here, you got the shrimp here, you got just everything. That feels the best, rather than eating like a chipmunk all day long.
I eat like 2 or 3 pounds of meat every day, and it's in a short period of time.
Hey, yo.
It feels great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. How is your guys' energy levels if you're only eating towards like the latter half of your day?
It's rare for me to have like low energy or to feel low energy. I think some of that has to do with my personality, because I'm sort of just like monotone, and that allows me to utilize my own energy as I feel. I don't let emotions and a lot of stuff like really pull me one way or the other too much. And I think that's kind of helpful. But I also think that just kind of renegotiating with yourself and reinterpreting things. The food that I consume at night, at 8 o'clock at night, doesn't disappear when I go and run at 7 a.m. It's still there. I have body fat as well that I can run off of. I have food that I can run off of. It's not like I didn't have any food in the last couple of days and my body's going to freak out and not understand. Yeah. Like, oh man, he's exercising. Like, we don't know what to do. There's not enough energy in here. So I feel good. I do think that there's definitely, for me, there's periods of time where it's important where I eat more. It's important that I don't fast sometimes. And I think that that's some of the disparity that you see in some of these videos. You'll see one person being a huge proponent of fasting. Why would a lot of people be a huge proponent of fasting? Well, I think like 50 or 60% of Americans are overweight or obese or something like that. Like it's some astronomical number.
Yeah.
And we need some sort of defense against it. People tried to recommend 3 meals a day. People tried a food pyramid, and those things didn't necessarily fail us. We failed those things by over consuming food and by a bunch of different things. But maybe our government and maybe our advertising and things like that, maybe they did fail us a little bit, because maybe they taught us about fake health. Maybe they, shouldn't have put a heart on a thing of Frosted Flakes or something like that. Like there's definitely some foul play in there as well. But it's each individual's responsibility to figure out, how do I fight against this? And America is very heavy, and we do need to figure out a way to fight against it. And one simple way, this is the simplest thing that we've ever seen in our culture, and it's been intermittent fasting. I always kind of envisioned like having people call it like an elevator pitch. If you had to pitch something to somebody in an elevator, you got like 30 seconds or something like that to tell somebody about your idea, your invention, your product. You got, I don't know, you got 30 seconds with Elon Musk, I always felt like my elevator pitch for a diet is, like as someone's like, ready to exit the elevator and say, and don't eat for 16 hours every day. And they go on their way and they're like, I forgot kind of a lot of other stuff he said. I don't remember. He's talking about carbs and stuff. And I don't know what those, he did mention read food labels, but that point at the end really made a lot of sense. If that person just remembered that one thing and they're able to follow through on that, they would actually be able to lose some weight.
Why is that such a funny visual? Every day. No. But the other thing is if everybody did some intermittent fasting, that would be good. But also if we just were able to cut processed foods out of the diet. I know how people like to say, oh, but this is processed and it's healthy and this, but I mean,
That's
like
what fasting can do, right?
Yeah,
because you're not snacky.
Exactly. If you can get, because like mentioned, I ate 11 full-size candy bars the other night, right?
So you're a full-size adult though.
I'm a full-size adult, but dude,
Yeah.
each of these is what, 220 calories. And after I ate all 11, I was still hungry, dog. I could have still eaten more, but I was just like, see, this is why we talk about this all the time. I just did that to show you guys how it was possible. I didn't do it for my own benefit, right? But that's what I'm saying. Just like if you can get the junk food out of the house, if you can stop craving that type of food and just eat real food. Is that real?
Yeah.
By the way?
Skittles.
Yeah. So it's a chemical inside of Skittles and a bunch of other products, but it's like the red dyes and some other things. So Mark, when you're saying like, maybe like the food pyramid didn't fail us or like, well, at least this is somewhat of it's a rare win for California, but yeah, they're banning and they have till like 2027 to get all these chemicals out of their products.
The problem sometimes here is like, what are they going to replace it with?
Just a new.
So we've had this happen before. They took coconut oil out of the movie theaters in place of something that had polyunsaturated fats, which is seed oils.
Which don't hurt us at all, right?
Which are worse for us than coconut oil. Yeah. And coconut oil, like, it has a higher burn rate and stuff like that. So sometimes these government things are well intended and then something else weird happens. And then also like something like that might seem like good news, but somebody's getting paid probably.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's always, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist person like that all the time, but that's usually what's happening. You're like, God damn, I thought we were heading in a good direction.
Yeah. Well, if Newsom's signing it, something.
You never know with this guy.
I know he's getting paid.
You want to pull out the video from Jordan Syatt?
Oh yeah, which one? Sorry.
It's the only one.
What do you mean?
It's in the text.
Oh, that's my.
yeah,
I see it now.
Yeah, Jordan Syatt's got a lot of great information. Peeps, if you're not following our boy Jordan Syatt, please make sure that you do. He's got awesome information on nutrition all the time. Fellow jiu-jitsu guy too.
Yeah, purple belt.
Overrated or underrated? Homa4613 wants to know my thoughts on intermittent fasting. Pay attention, watch this whole reel. I know I'm gonna piss someone off because someone always has to get pissed off on Instagram. Intermittent fasting is overrated, and by a lot. This is not me saying intermittent fasting is bad and you shouldn't do it and it's harmful. That's not what I'm saying. It's a very useful tool if you like to skip breakfast and maybe lunch. But let's not overthink this. That's all intermittent fasting is. You skip breakfast, and if you want a longer fast, then you skip lunch. That's it. You're not doing anything special. There's not this crazy magical shit going on inside your body. You're fucking skipping a meal or two, and that is it. If that's beneficial for your schedule, amazing. If you're hungry in the morning and you like breakfast, don't intermittent fast. It's not magical. It's not special. It's not gonna burn fat faster. It's not gonna make you live to 150 years old. It's just skipping breakfast and maybe lunch. If it works for you, great, but that's it. And that's why it's overrated, because so many people are pushing this out as the end all be all, as a panacea to health and fat loss. It's not. You're just skipping a couple meals.
He mentioned something that I forgot about.
Oh, wait.
Oh shit, was he still
I
going?
think he was
My
still
bad.
going.
Oh.
You cut it off.
Oh fuck. Well,
We'll play the rest of it in a second.
Okay.
We'll get back to it in a second. We can edit some of it or whatever.
okay.
What I forgot about is like, there's a lot of times where people don't know what to eat, or they're like, all right, well, what do I now eat for breakfast? And that's great, just to completely cut it out, because he's saying, if you like breakfast, then maybe you should eat it. I would say that if you like breakfast, but you eat shitty food, you should probably get rid of it. Even if you like it, like, because it's a donut or I think that people don't understand, like a bagel and cream cheese and a little thing of milk or something, like that's not that's not a meal. That's like detrimental to your health. Like that's not great to do that every day. A donut is you waking up. It's no different than you waking up or a muffin. It's like no different than you waking up and just like eating birthday cake. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your diet right now? We need to make more sense of our nutrition. So if you wake up, you like breakfast, you have a couple eggs, sounds great. If you wake up and you eat like you're a 6-year-old, you should probably get rid of your breakfast.
Mm-hmm. The thing though that he mentioned though, it's like if you stop eating breakfast and lunch, you've now rerouted like 2 key habits when it comes to the way you eat. If you're choosing now not to eat breakfast and lunch, because usually for a lot of people, it's not just breakfast, it's breakfast and the snack and then lunch and maybe a snack before lunch. And there's a lot of little things here, but if you just rerouted those things and you're now not doing them and you get used to that after a period of time, a lot of good can happen from that. Like we were just talking earlier about how fasting shifted our habits from like needing to eat needing to eat a lot of junk food to, primarily eating real food all the time. But if you can shift the food you're eating, right, and then you're not eating until a certain point, now when you're actually really hungry, because you're not truly always hungry in the morning, but when you're really hungry, you're now reaching for real food rather than junk food, right? So again, I think the magic comes from the habits that are changed, because like if you can change those habits, sticking to your diet, maintaining your health over a long period of time becomes easy.
Andrew, you had a real job. Nsima and I were losers.
I had a real job for a little bit.
No, you didn't. Andrew, when you had a real job, the only real man on the show, a real job, real life responsibilities, what did lunch look like? Was it a tough decision to figure out who you're going to lunch with, what you're going to eat, or did you meal prep, or like what did it look like back then?
So yeah, early on, before I knew anything, it was just a mad dash to see like which fast food restaurant had the like least amount of people, and then if I
got like an hour, but it's really like 50 minutes if you're lucky, and try to find parking and whatever. Right?
Yeah, and then like my dumb ass, I'd always bring food back to my desk, and I'd get in trouble for it every day. But I'm like, I'm not gonna throw it away. Like this is expensive. But so it was like roughly like 40 minutes to try to get everything taken care of, because by the time you get to your car and then get out of your car, get back in your car, get back, all that shit, like
kind of stressful.
Extremely stressful. Probably like more stressful than the job itself was just trying to figure out how like I'm starving, right? I'm starving right now. How am I gonna change this feeling while getting back to my desk to not piss off my boss to be late again, right? Because if I'm late again, he's going to write me up, and like when review comes, I'm not going to get a raise. Like that, all this shit every day is going through my mind. So
now when the boss, walks by your desk to see you in your office, you just hold the middle finger, be like, "I'm intermittent fasting, bitch. Get out of here."
Like, you can't catch me now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, and then eventually, as I smartened up, I started meal prepping. I'd carry the 6-pack bag with me. And
that's legit.
In most cases, it was, I would say 9 out of 10 was like all good food. Like I think the worst would be like, damn, I didn't have anything to eat, so I'll just throw like peanut butter and jelly in there with a loaf of bread, and I'll just make it when I get there, which always led to making like multiple ones, because it's like, shit, it's all here. Let's just keep going.
That's great.
I would have a lot of food in there, and other coworkers would kind of like have fun and make fun of me because I would just kind of be eating all day long. So I'd have first lunch and second lunch, and then like before I left lunch, like so every break I would be eating like a full meal, which was pretty cool because that's the one thing you have to look forward to at a job you don't love. It's just like, oh, I got a 15-minute break. I can eat that one thing that I put together, eat that. But that one thing is like usually bigger than most people's regular lunch.
So you're back at that old job. You eat a couple eggs in the morning, go out the door, no 6-pack bag. You don't have to worry about going to whatever fast food place. You don't have to worry about how many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches you're going to make. You don't have to worry about getting written up. You don't have to worry about who you're going to go with to lunch and where you're going to park and all the 17,000 other things that happen. That's where intermittent fasting can just be super convenient.
That would be huge. Yeah, because for my lunch break, I could maybe have a bowl of fruit and go walk for 45 minutes instead of sprinting everywhere, right?
But you ate fruit.
That's fine. Yeah, I just getting out in the sun too. Like all these things that you have an opportunity, but you have to skip because you're just stuck in that damn hamster wheel and you can't get out of it. But if I were to go back and do that, it would have been a much better experience, a lot less stressful.
We talked to countless professionals on the podcast about the importance of having strong feet, and chances are that wearing narrow toe box shoes has weakened your feet and your toes don't function the way they should.
Sucks, bro.
Yeah, that's why we've partnered with Paloova, and they're the first casual wide toe box 5-finger shoe that you can wear running in the gym, literally anywhere. But the benefit of these shoes is that as you stick your feet in and your little toesy woesies start to get a little bit of spacey waisies, your feet will start to function the way they should because your toes will slowly start to widen out and your feet will no longer be this blobby little cast that they probably are right now. Andrew, how can they get them?
Yeah, time to spread them cheeks. I mean toes. Head over to paloova.com/power project. That's PELUVA.com/power project. And at checkout, enter promo code power project 15 to save 15% off. Again, that's at paloova.com/power project. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
They got tons of them. Check them out.
It is interesting though, because I mean, for like at this point, it does really feel like a superpower knowing how the habits were before. I mean, you used to eat a lot of fucking food and you still can. And I could too. And it never felt like something that I'd really have full control over, but I really do have full control over it now because of the habit of fasting.
I was 330 pounds, you know, and
Could end the podcast right there.
just with me crying.
So I was 330 pounds.
I think that that's one of the actual huge problems with losing weight is that you used to be a certain size and your body's used to being that size. Your body gets used to eating that amount of food. And I still want to eat a lot more than what I eat now, but that's mainly not because I used to weigh 330. It's because I used to weigh 240 not too long ago, and now I'm 220. So it's not really about the 330 anymore. I kissed that goodbye so long ago that that's not really an issue. I don't have that same level of hunger, but right now I'm pretty hungry because I'm losing weight again. And so it's important that you become kind of like friends with hunger, that you understand that this is part, hunger is like it's a feeling, it's an emotion in a way. Mm-hmm. And you hear people say they're eating their emotions. Well, you don't always need to feed that. You don't always need to address it. I would say occasionally push it away and see if it's real. Am I hungry for healthy foods? Am I hungry for protein? Am I hungry for fruit, vegetables? If you're kind of like, I'm only hungry for a sandwich, I'm only hungry for pizza, that's fake hunger. You're not actually hungry. You don't actually need anything. You just want something. If you want something and you really want it and you're going to go with a significant other or a friend to go do something, then fucking eat it. Have fun. Enjoy it. Try to just make sure it doesn't become, some sort of downward spiral for you. I think that's what we want to try to figure out is like, is this a real situation or not? Intermittent fasting gives you that opportunity to pause on your food for a moment. Because if someone was to bake a bunch of cookies here today, you can pause on it for a second and you could say, well, no, fuck it. Okay. I'm going to eat them. You can, but at least there was a moment in there of thought. And if you are,
split second.
if you're on the heavier side and you still have a lot of work to do, that pause might be enough to where you just go, I want to go in the other room. I'm going to walk out of here. Please don't mention these cookies to me again. I'm on a mission over here. So I actually do think that despite some of what is shared, I do think that intermittent fasting has magical powers. I've said that before. I do think that a ketogenic diet has magical powers. I've said that before. I do think that there'll be more research and more information that comes out that shows the magical powers of these diets, that they're not just, it's not only a caloric equation. There's like something slightly different going on. We have seen people talking about circadian rhythm and diet meshing together. We've heard recently David Herrera talking about light and food together, which I haven't really heard a lot of that before. That those are interesting things. We've had people mention it on the podcast before. I think even a few years ago was the first mention of circadian rhythm and your food. And potentially intermittent fasting could have even a stronger benefit if you eat during the hours of sunlight as opposed to eating as it gets darker out. So they're all really interesting things. And again, I mentioned earlier, if somebody is eating a shitty breakfast, it might be a good idea for them to cut out breakfast so that there's no longer a decision there. But really, people tend to eat the worst at night. So imagine if you flipped your intermittent fasting window around a little bit and, you know, your last meal of the day was at like 4 p.m. Now you're not going to sit in front of your TV and just mindlessly eat while you watch football or whatever the hell it is that you're doing. It can really shift things around quite a bit. So I do think that there's something about intermittent fasting that I think is special beyond it just teaching you how to regulate your hunger. But also, what is more powerful than regulating your hunger? Ozempic, drugs like that, they're making millions, if not billions of dollars. All that drug does is help to send you a signal to dampen your hunger hormones a little bit. Just to put a little, just to make them so they're not so crazy. They're not so ravenous. Intermittent fasting can teach you a similar thing. I know it doesn't seem like it makes sense if you've never tried it before, because you're probably like, I don't get it. How could not eating make me? But it will help you get out of that addictive loop, as that doctor was kind of pointing out.
And if you're new to it, just understand that when you start, like with everything, there's a period where you're going to adapt. There's a period that you need to, you're going to be feeling really hungry, but just hold off until you're supposed to eat. And then also, you're going to find that when you do eat, you'll overdo it. So your first,
you might feel sick.
Yeah, you might be like, oh, I'm so hungry, and it's 2 p.m. It's your first meal, and then you just eat way too much, and you're like, oh, I ate too much, and then you learn. You realize, okay, maybe I wasn't that hungry, right? Because like as you mentioned before, Mark, one of the things that you'll do when you start fasting is when you eat, you will go hog wild. But you should pretty much kind of eat like nothing happened. Eat like you normally would if you weren't fasting, right? But after that period of time, when hunger comes and when hunger hits, it doesn't feel as strong. It doesn't feel like, oh, fuck, I need to eat. It's like, kind of hungry, but it's going to pass. One of the things you learn that that feeling will pass and that you'll be okay. And then it becomes something that doesn't bother you at all, because I used to be emotional when I was hungry. I used to be annoyed. You talk to me, it'd be like, I'd be short with you, a little bit short, because I'm like, I'm really hungry. That's why I ate so much. Right? So it's awesome what it does for you, but just give it time if you're new to it and you're trying to build the habit.
Yeah, I like what you said. It kind of turns it from like an all-out siren alarm when you get that first hunger feeling. It's like an emergency where you're like, we got to take care of this now.
It's like that Amber Alert that goes off on your phone.
Yes. And then it turns it from that to like literally like a little like vibration on your phone. You're like, fuck, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I'll get to it later. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I really liked what was said in Gabrielle Lyon's new book. She basically talked over and over again about what you can gain rather than what you can lose. And I realized with fasting, you are primarily thinking of probably losing or managing body weight or body fat. It's important that when you try a diet like that you're not overdoing it. You're not over fasting. Again, we did mention that if you're someone that has a hard time eating, you may want to try to have another meal somewhere. You may want to try to do what Andrew does, which is have breakfast in the morning and then eat later on in the evening. And there's still a gap where you're not eating. But we want to make sure people aren't feeling like stringy and skinny fat and tired.
Yeah.
And if you start to feel some of those things, you start to get dizzy when you work out and exercise. Well, you need to kind of check yourself. You need to pay attention to your electrolytes, pay attention to the overall amount of calories that you're eating. This is where jotting some stuff down or using an app and paying attention to your calories might be important, because you might go, oh my God, I've eaten only 1,500 calories 3 days in a row, and I'm supposed to be more like 2,500. So that this is cool that this is working to help me eat less, but now I'm not feeling so great. And so just pay attention to some of those things. But I think most people will get a great benefit from intermittent fasting. I think Nsima said it well also by saying maybe it's not something you do every single day. Thomas DeLauer has pointed this out many times. He's a big fan of doing it every other day. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, which I know you did because you got this far, then click this one right here because you'll enjoy this one just as much. And if you're choosing to still listen to me currently as I'm telling you to go over here and watch this video, well, hey, that just means you like the sound of my voice. And well, I'll just keep seducing you right here.